Hello, in this video I'll be reviewing Starsight, the second book in the Skyward trilogy. It's a spoiler-free review of this book, is that it's good, but without getting into too many spoilers, it's good because it feels like it's setting up what's coming next, but what's coming next isn't that good, if that makes sense. So, it's okay. In of itself, in a microcosm, it's an okay book. I think it would have been good had it been setting up something good, but in my opinion, the next book is not great. So yeah, sorry, this might be a little bit of a negative Nancy review, but I'll try and get some of the positives out there first. So we still have, so we're still spoiler-free, by the way. We still have our great main character, who I really like, Spencer. I think she's really strong, and it's fun being in her head, and she's kind of witty, kind of funny, kind of different, very well written. It's really enjoyable, getting to ride along with her. So that's cool. And we have M-Bot as well, our robot sidekick, so to speak. Once again, he's really cool. It's nice to be along with him. It's nice to kind of see his journey. I want to say character arc, because he's kind of learning to even be alive, which is one of the most as basic as a character arc can get, really. But yeah, so yeah, we kind of, the characters are still cool, and our old characters. And we have the kind of cool, setting, I suppose, of Starsight. It's kind of okay, actually, spoilers now, spoilers. So Starsight, that's inter system, hub where people come together and trade and all that stuff. And I think it's an interesting idea, but now, I don't want to, and just before I continue, I want to say that this book is actually kind of enjoyable. So I'm going to start talking a fair bit of shit about it now, but it actually is an enjoyable book. So I think it just goes to show that Brandon Sanderson's prose and kind of je ne sais quoi is so strong that even in a bad book, he's still kind of good, if that makes sense. But I just think that there's a lot of issues with this book. So, for example, the start is really kind of random, as in we're just chilling on the main planet where we've been engaging in the story of, one planet fighting and stuff. And then suddenly this person just immediately comes to a planet and for some reason they can just instantly teleport Spencer away, but only for 5 minutes. It all has to happen really quickly, and then we just, in a totally different setting, instantly, with very little, doesn't feel like it's built up or foreshadowed or implied or anything. It's just, the author wanted this to happen, and so it's happening. There's the guy, there's the lady, she's coming, she's teleporting, it's all good. So that's kind of a main, the kind of issue with the entire premise, almost, is that it seems to be, it just kind of happens out of nowhere. And then the other issues I have is that the aliens all feel way too similar. And to be fair, Brandon Sanderson does try and throw an explanation or two around about this, about how maybe they developed at the same time or whatever. But basically the aliens just feel human, as in every character in this book is just written as a human, in my opinion. They have, they talk about the different things. For example, one thing I did like was the Diones, and how they they come together to see if they're going to be a good match, and then they split apart, and then maybe they get born or not. It's interesting ideas, but ultimately, in terms of the way the characters act, in terms of emotions and payoff and all this stuff, the characters are basically just different types of humans, and so when I was visualizing this book, all I really visualized was just a bunch of humans, and I think this is a common flaw with anything with non-human characters, is that the non-human character, and to be fair, it is kind of almost intrinsic, it's very hard to write someone who's not human when you are a human, and I get this, but it is just one of those things where basically all non-human characters just felt like people, and so it's, and perhaps, you could argue that, it's kind of something to do with the theme which Brandon Sanderson is going for. It's we're all different, but, we're all humans at the end of the day, but the problem is, we're not all humans in this book, because they're aliens, so it's tough, and I think that there wouldn't be a big deal unless because it's part of a premise. The big premise of this book is that she's acting as an alien, right? And so it just shows how similar aliens are to humans in the sense that she just acts totally normal, and no one, that's fine, because the aliens are humans in this book. So I just really think that kind of undercuts the whole book, really, is that issue. And then finally, just the plot just didn't really grab me. We kind of get this villain introduced who's just very, lame, there's Whimsic who just, he's trying to take over the superiority by, some sort of military coup, but we've never met him before, and he's very unintimidating, and all he says is my. And, I get that he's doing dastardly things, but I just could never really make myself care, And I think that a problem that I had with this book as well is just in contrast, because the first book was very grounded, very very specific, very like in one place. As in, we're on this planet, we're fighting these weird Krell guys. We're doing that so we can survive. So maybe we can leave this planet. It's very like you can explain the whole story in like a few sentences, and you can add a couple of sentences for the nuances. Like our main character is the son of a pilot who was betrayed, who betrayed his people. I wonder why this happened. But like it's the whole story, right? With this book, I can't even begin to explain to you the damn story because everything's just so random. It's like this weird political intrigue. And then multiple times, our main character explains that she's not good at this, and it's not her forte, and it just feels weird to have her doing these things, and it just feels so out of context. So other stuff like a fighter pilot and stuff. Now she's doing like weird political subterfuge and spying and stuff, and there's like whole scenes of like maids who may or may not be spies, and it's just like this doesn't feel. It just doesn't feel like a sequel to the original book. You know, it just feels so out of left field and so kind of random, and I have to say I was a little disappointed. But with that said, I just want to end this review by once again noting that I still listened to this entire thing, and I still enjoyed basically the entire thing. I actually deliberately went out on walks and stuff so I could continue listening to this because I listen to all my books. So even though I'm talking a whole bunch of shit here, it is almost still pretty good, you know. However, one thing I also want to say is that a lot of this book sets up the next book, right? And unfortunately, the next book is, in my opinion, not great. So I will get onto the reviewing the next book because I've also finished it, so I'll just review it right after this. But yeah, so overall my review, I would say that Starsight's like maybe a 5 out of 10, 5 or 6 out of 10. It's I'd say 6 out of 10 because it's slightly above average because it's still Brandon Sanderson, but it's not great. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, and sorry for a slightly more negative Nancy review.